Good morning, friends. Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live. It is November the 15th, 2025. Listen, the video I did yesterday on Patreon about ThreeI Atlas, I didn't have good internet at the time. And of course, being able to put that together from a car was not easy at all. But I have to come back to this subject. And yes, I know those of you that are here on Israeli News Live hate Patreon to begin with because you don't want to have to go over there. But listen, you need to. This information is so shocking, it's so important that you've got to know what the heck is going on. This was the video I did 2 years ago. I just made it public. It is on Patreon. It's over on my channel called Stephen Ben-Nun, Egyptian God Ra Returning. 2 years ago, I did this video here talking about what I was told in intel circles there that this alien god Ra was going to come here to this earth here. They were going to bring all kinds of alleged peace, and they were going to say they were our creators, things like that. Crazy things, right? So I'm going to kind of highlight some of the issues I'm going to go into in this video here. This guy right here, also talking about ThreeI Atlas, arrival forces governments to prepare humanity will change forever. This was an insider. It's over on David Nino Rodriguez's channel. This guy is actually going to tell you things I told you 2 years ago, right? And I don't agree with this agenda that's going on. It is clearly a global reset agenda, and of course, they're going to put at the head of the whole head of this the empire that right now is right in the middle of annihilating Gaza. All right, so that's another major red flag. I also will talk a little bit about Avi Loeb. Notice this is one of the latest images there of ThreeI Atlas, and I always found that kind of interesting, especially in light of Zachariah Stitchin's talks about some of these artifacts from what was that, Mesopotamia, I guess, where they claim that this was the sun and Nibiru was one of the planets around it and things like that. No, there's always different numbers of dots around these images here, never consistent with our solar system. I think that he was seeing this here. Notice the similarities. We're going to get into that, right? We're going to talk about the book of Revelation, what it says there, what's coming upon the earth. Very disturbing things. We're going to be talking about to Stephen Greer. He's a skeptic. He doesn't believe that this is real. I get it because I kind of wonder the same in one way, but maybe a telltale sign. We're going to be getting into this guy right here, Alien New World Order, a forbidden timeline. We're going to be talking about another video I did. I shared that one there in the other post the other day. And of course, Mr. Sadak, who also believes that these entities are coming up from inside the earth. And then, of course, Joel's prophecy. This great people are mighty. There hath never, ever been the like. So look, you want to stay and listen into this video, go to patreon.com/Israeli News Live. Listen to the entirety of it. It's the one of the few ways people actually support the channel now. Most people don't, they no longer support online as far as IsraeliNewsLive.org. They don't donate by mail. Very few ever do any longer. Don't know why. It just seems to be the new norm on how people do it. But you could support us on IsraeliNewsLive.org. You can donate directly online, or you could actually donate by mail. Either Texas or Tennessee is still applicable. So let's get into this video right now. I want to play a lot of different clips for you. I'm very concerned about what's happening, and I'm also concerned about Christianity as a whole. I'm concerned because Christians take the name of Christian, they accept the name of Jesus Christ, but that is only in word and not in the power of Christ. And I'm afraid that this is really not going to be something very good in the long run for people when they find out that, you really need to have a sincere relationship with Him. Let's take a look at this video right here that I played here. I'm going to play a clip for you. Egyptian God Ra returning. This again 2 years ago, as you can see here, 2 years ago, and I released this on our. This one actually is released. There's another one I just released on the channel over there too. that I had not released before. Listen in.
With you as far as how that works, but next year, I've told you about how that the U.S. is going to disclose the alien presence that is happening, that we have been in contact with extraterrestrial beings. And I found out just yesterday that one of those extraterrestrial beings is going to claim that he is Ra, that he is the Egyptian god Ra. And you want to talk about some confusion that's going to be coming. He's, also the creation story that they have is that they're going to speak about how that the humans were created as bioweapon slaves, and then even worse is that Ra has a different story when it comes to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and that different story has a lot to do with the Jewish people weren't so responsible for his death in the first place. It's basically going to be an inclusive faith, an inclusive religion, and they have been working on this for a long time. They're working on trying to figure out how to hurdle over the issue with the cross. And
imagine that. Imagine that. So that's what we got going on there. That was 2 years ago, and of course they have been trying to do disclosures through the Pentagon and through different hearings and things like that. They never have truly done what they were supposed to do. They still have been very reluctant to do so. But then we had this 3i Atlas come up, and I actually began to think perhaps maybe 3i Atlas might actually be the Nibiru itself. Maybe it's not this giant planet. I always heard that Nibiru or Planet X actually was a reptilian, not reptilian in the sense of the reptilian entities that they claim that are here on the Earth underground and things like that, or work with like our U.S. intelligent forces here, but that it was actually more of a that this was, oh gosh, what was the word that was used there? They're cousins to the reptilians, and I can't think of what they're called now, but anyway, but they would be coming on this planet type thing that's coming there. But now they also talk about this thing being the size of Manhattan. I always thought that was fascinating. Why would they want to describe this 3i Atlas as Manhattan? I think of the Manhattan Project, right? The nuclear bomb type thing there. Is it because it is also they're going to take it this time and use some type of nuclear attack on the Earth? Maybe so. Listen to what Avi Loeb says here on this interview about this.
We see other comets in the solar system that have a beautiful tail away from the sun behind them. Lemon is an excellent example. But in our case of 3i Atlas, it looks like a fuzzy ball of light. Even after it passed through perihelion, it was heated by 770 watts per square meter. And we know that the previous plume of gas was mostly carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide ices can sublimate at a much lower temperature than water ice. So we should have seen it break up, or at the very least disintegrate to a very dense and massive cloud of gas and dust that is pushed away from the sun by the solar radiation and the solar wind.
But it doesn't do that, does it, Avi? So, and again, notice though, these little fragments that are seeming to trail with this thing, and I just always go back and I think of this little object here. Is this what they were seeing? Now, that's just a conjecture and just something I've considered. I don't know if it's really true or not, but it is something to consider. But then we have, though, this very interesting guy right here. And I want to go back, though, near the beginning in this video before I play a couple of the clips in here. And it still would be good to go back and watch the other video here on Patreon because I play more of the clips in there. Let me see if I can find the beginning of where he is talking about these things.
Conspiracies out there with this thing. I'm hoping you can help me clear this up, Stuart.
I can, and I'll do my very best to straighten everything out for everybody. And just to answer what you said earlier before, right now, since this gone around the sun already. If you have a telescope, you can see it in the distance. However, it will come closest to the Earth on December 19th. So I'm going to first give you a little bit, first about opinion of mine, if I may, and then a little history of where it comes from. And then I'm going to tell you what else is going on.
All right, let me just get to this really fast before you.
He's got to go into the gold thing, and I want to get past that. Hang on.
Aliens, interdimensional information, and so on. A lot of people, especially the ones who claim to have very religious belief system, and I respect that. But I just have to make a statement here, Nino, and that is that the Bible is a code. It's a coded document. We cannot take it literally. You have to look at the words, look at the gematria of the words, what the meanings are.
Gematria.
And according to the Zohar, there's 600,000 meanings to every letter, to every sentence. So we can't take it at surface value. And there are people who believe that God only created life on the earth. And when you realize that there are trillions of galaxies, trillions of universes.
Okay. Now, keep in mind, he's now saying that the Zohar, the Gematria, and another one I think that's worth looking at before I get into the issue about Trump here. I'll go to that in a little bit here. Let me take you to 18 and a half minutes on this thing here. I want you to hear what he says here about the type of entities that there are.
In this Kuiper belt, there are different species. There are humanoid species. There are robotic, cyborg type species. There are etheric, non-physical. There are reptilian types, insectoids, which are the most aggressive against humans.
Now, I want you to hold that thought there, the insectoids. We're going to come back to that in a moment. Before I do, though, I want you to look too at Ariel Sadok. Took me a minute. I was going to do Ariel Sadok just in his actual video, but I actually had to find where I've talked about it before because it's hard to find where he mentions these reptilians. Listen to what he says right here. This is a video I did called Reptilians, the Good Guys, according to, I call them scholars now, I don't call them what they want to be called, but let's listen to this.
We still communicate telepathically with all of these other entities.
Hard to hear.
There was a race of highly evolved reptilians who matured and evolved on Earth and have since ascended. And they presently serve Hashem, God. And they are reptilian entities, maybe evolved dinosaurs, who knows? I don't think the dinosaurs are so 65 million years ago.
If you notice, he said they serve Hashem. And
they serve God, right? The reptilians serve God. I mean, some of the stuff this guy says is way out there. But going back, though, this is what's really important. If we go back here to Stuart Swordlow and what he says there about these insectoids, you can't help but think of the book of Revelation. Right? This is in chapter 9. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass. Let's take a look at these guys, right? And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fell from heaven into the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Now, typically we think this is Satan, right? Well, yeah, I agree with that. And it doesn't mean that an asteroid is crashing into the earth, but could it have something to do with what Avi Loeb is saying and that star right there, that weird looking object there, and how it looks like this weird looking object over here as well? Notice that, right? Isn't that kind of weird? Okay, so let's take a look at this now, right? So he says, Stewart says here on David's channel that there's reptoids, right? And then in the book of Revelation, that star falls from heaven. The guy's got the key to the bottomless pit. In other words, he can release out of inner earth. He's got that way for them to be able to now come upon the earth. He opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, and as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun of the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth. Now everybody's thinking little flying little bugs, right? And unto them was given power, as scorpions of the earth have power. But I want you to watch the size of these things, right? And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man. And in those days men shall seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. But watch their bodies, their shapes, right? And the shapes of the locusts were likened to horses. What? A locust like the shape of a horse, prepared unto battle, and on their heads were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. Starting to sound like an insectoid, isn't it? Because that's what they look like. They're like a praying mantis looking guy, but has a face kind of like a guy's face, right? Really weird looking creatures. And then you can't help but wonder. See, Joel also describes this strange thing, right? In Joel chapter 2, it says here, a great people and a mighty there hath not ever been the like, neither shall be any more after them, even to the years of many generations. And fire devoureth before them, and behind them a flame blazeth. The land is of garden Eden before them, and behind them is a desolate wilderness, yea, and nothing escapeth them. And the appearance of them is as the appearances of horses, and as a horseman, so do they run. Well, a horseman, in other words, the guy that rides a horse runs on his two legs. Well, they're like horses. Revelation says they're like a locust, but they're standing on their hind legs and they run, almost like a reptilian. But now we're talking about maybe insectoids or something. I mean, I'm like blown away by the things that I'm seeing here. You can't make this up. You just can't make it up. I mean, is it something that's really coming? I don't know. I hope my daughter hears and lets the dog in. But anyway, that's a different issue. Sorry. Let's take a look at some other things that he has to say in here. Here's what's really troubling, right? I want to take you back to the 17-minute mark here, and he's going to talk about Donald Trump in this clip here. Listen.
Holographic images, using Bluebeam Project, which you may have heard of. And there are, yeah. And so this is real, though. This object's not a hologram. It's not part of a staged event. Well, from the Kuiper Belt, it's staged, but it's not a human staged event. And that's what's freaking everybody out in high offices across the globe. This object is sending warning messages, warning, because they're giving humans a chance to make a choice. Either you behave yourselves, create a peaceful condition so that you don't become a threat to other civilizations.
They probably know we're also on the brink of World War III.
Which is why President Trump is trying to stop all of these wars. He's doing this because he knows what these beings are. He knew that they were on their way to come here, and he knows what they could possibly do. And so he's doing his very best to stop all these wars and create a peaceful planet that's not a threat. But unfortunately, there are those who don't want that outcome. And that's another problem, because
now Trump, he already knows, which kind of tells me then he must be working with reptilians and insectoids and every other kind of demonic entity. And he's trying to bring about peace. But here's what's interesting. Watch how he talks about the peace itself. Let's go into this 2645, and then we're going to jump back, because he goes into the very thing I showed you in the first video that I played for you, that I did 2 years ago, about when they're coming. Listen to this.
Everything in the Bible that at the end times, this is all going to happen.
Exactly. And this is end times. We are in end times. But it says we will survive and have a better life afterwards. This is a purging of the evil of demonic entities. That's what we're experiencing, a purge of this planet and of humanity. So even though it seems fearful and scary and uncertain, we all have to realize that we came into this lifetime for a reason.
The planet's being purged. I wonder if these mothers and children in the Middle East really realize that they're being purged. I guess, after all, Netanyahu must be a good guy because he works for the reptilians, and according to Zadok, the reptilians work for God. Well, he doesn't just say that they work for God. This is what really gets crazy, right? You want to see another one that he says here? This is where he's talking about Solomon.
Barbara Eden, dating a long time ago. I Dream of Jeannie. Remember, she's that very beautiful blonde woman. Blink her head and get, what was his name? Larry Hagman played Colonel Nelson. Got him in a lot of trouble. Old funny show for him. I think the reruns were still on even recently. But anyway, jinn, demons, you can say, well, they're evil dominions of the devil. Well, according to our teachings and tradition, there were places that needed to be built in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem when it was built by Shlomo Melech, King Solomon, and that he sent Ben Yehoiada, the famous captain of his guard, to inner earth to contact the head of the Shedim, whose name was Ashmodai, and that Ashmodai supposedly was a righteous Shed who served God and gave to Benyahu an army of builders who brought with them secret technology from inner earth, one thing called the shamir, which is described as a little worm which was put on rocks, causing them to split evenly, because if you remember, the biblical law was you weren't allowed to cut rock.
So the temple was built using demons out of the earth there, having worms coming up there that could split rocks. I mean, it just gets crazier and crazier the more you look into these things. I mean, like I'm blown away, to say the very least there. Now, of course, if you listen to Stephen Greer, he doesn't believe any of this to begin with.
Some of the more sensational ones, although he's backtracked on that, saying that he was saying theoretically it could be this, which is a sort of a psyop. So my understanding of the cell that Avi Loeb is part of, the UFO connected cell group that he's connected to, is a very prominent disinformation, gaslighting operation. So I'm pretty sure that anything from those quarters I would look at very skeptically, particularly when it begins to track towards a threat from outer space. Remember,
right? Interesting, isn't it? Stephen may be right, because I think more so they may use this here as the symbology to, like, say, history is repeating itself. But after all, according to Zadok, these entities are going to come from inner earth in the first place. So I began to look at all this, and then of course this came. My wife sent me this one right here, and this was also very interesting to listen to here.
Susceptible to their inhabitation. Two continents emerged from the water. One we called Lemuria, the other Atlantis. And according to Morning Sky, they created the moon, which is an artificial planet, and started to inhabit the Earth. Having done what they chose to do to Maldek and Mars, they now felt unconstrained to worry about humans in this solar system. However, they were hasty in making that decision because the Federation was not pleased with this. And however, according to Morning Sky, the reptilians lived here undisturbed for about 200,000 or 300,000 years on this planet. And at that point, the Federation decided to send a race of humans here, which at that time was living in the Pleiades, who originally...
Now, what I find fascinating, could there be a biblical truth to what he says? Well, the serpent did. If we think about this is what really kind of gets nuts, right? The serpent in the Garden of Eden was above all the animals of the field until Adam came along. I don't think that Adam came from some far-off galaxy or something like that and got beamed down here, by no means. I believe more of what the creation story has to say. But it doesn't discount the fact that reptilians were here. serpents. And the serpent was more like a person that could talk, could walk, because he's cursed to go on his belly. So you really have to ask yourself, what is all this about in the first place? I'm blown away personally as I look at these things and what I'm seeing. And I do feel like something really seriously is coming. Again, if you go back to the video that I said here, in 2026, I was told is when this Ra character is going to come, and they're going to tell us that they have the answers to all of humanity's needs and things like that. And oddly enough, if we go back to this guy here more recently on David's program, which it only came out 6 days ago, let's take you back to the 21 mark here. I want you to see what he says here on that very subject that I talked about as well. Listen.
That's what I was told, so that's what I'm telling you.
Okay,
I'll
December
tell
9th.
you, I'm a messenger.
Okay, all right, but a lot of people make predictions on my shows, and they. So.
Well,
thank you, David,
that's
for
what
saying
NASA
that.
says. December
Okay, but
9th.
isn't NASA closed down because of the government shutdown?
There's a lot of agencies that are closed down officially, but behind the scenes, they're doing work because I'm working with some of them and they're doing work.
Okay, so it's here to arrive December 19th, and it's what's it going to do once it arrives here? What's
Unfortunately, only they know that. Only the ones on board know what they're going to do. They didn't say, but they expect by the time they arrive here that this Earth is a different planet than when they started on their mission. I was also told by the director that by March of 2026, a few months away, the planet, this Earth, will be very different than it is now. That's a direct quote.
There you have it. You figure it out, right? I just wanted to share this and go into this deeper with you. And I hope this is a blessing for you. Thank you. And thank you for supporting our Patreon channel. This airs on Israeli News Live in the near future. I don't know if I will do it that way or not, but please consider donating. Please consider becoming a Patreon member as well. You can donate online just by clicking the link right there. Or to Stephen Benoon at P.O. Box 156, Sunbright, Tennessee, or the address above my head here in Prosper, Texas. Get all those names mixed up. There's a lot of cities over there. Thank you for listening, and God bless you.